From Eyewitness News, this is Newsmakers.
Parking tickets, by their very nature, are punitive, but in Cranston, an investigation found they were used as punishment of a different kind, political.
Captain Antonucci ordered patrolmen to step up the issuing of parking tickets on the morning after the City Council's vote against the proposed police contract.
With the state police still at the helm at Cranston's police department, Mayor Allan Fung has called for the termination of police union president and captain Stephen Antonucci. Fallout of the ticketing controversy, plus why Fung is happy the pension settlement fell apart, and how questioning GOP credentials has become a full contact sport. Our guest this week on Newsmakers, Republican gubernatorial candidate and Cranston Mayor Allan Fung. Welcome to Newsmakers. I'm Tim White. Ted Nesi is off this week, so joining me on the panel, we welcome her back, Eyewitness News analyst Arlene Violet. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Mayor, welcome back to the program. It's good to have you.
Thanks for having me.
So obviously we're going to start with the ticketing controversy there. As we pointed out at the top, you're moving to terminate Captain Stephen Antonucci, who is the police union president, in the wake of all that. You've called for a special city council meeting for next week. On the agenda, status of overnight parking allegations, police department assessment, including personnel matters. What do your taxpayers need to know?
No, we'll call that meeting to brief the city council about what has transpired. Even then, we have to be very careful about what we can and can't say, because the officer is entitled to his rights under that state statute, the Law Enforcement Officer's Bill of Rights. We held a press conference announcing the findings after the state police's thorough investigation. They went through, interviewed all the witnesses. We're going to at least let the city council know some of what has transpired.
Police department assessment, should they, your constituents, should they expect another shoe to drop here?
No, that assessment was more a top-to-bottom review. I wanted an objective assessment. That's one of the reasons why we had placed Colonel Palumbo on the sideline, not only for the independence with respect to the ticketing investigation, but also to do a top-to-bottom review and provide me with an honest, objective assessment of what's going on in the department, including some of the personnel issues that we had saw coming from grievances internally.
And are your taxpayers going to see the results of that assessment at some
this
time?
stage, I'm not sure. They're still undergoing that assessment, and I've heard only like bits and pieces about some of the things that have been ongoing with that.
Before you moved to terminate Antonucci, did you discuss other options with him to try and to accept, say, a demotion?
No, that's one of the things that there was so to speak, I'm not trying to be offensive, like a Chinese wall in legal terms that was placed myself with respect to the state police. The state police were handling the investigation and any type of discussions along with our legal counsel, Vin Ragasta.
All right, and you brought up Colonel Marco Palumbo. There's a dark cloud hanging over Colonel Palumbo right now. You suspended him, he then retired. The state police.
Let me correct that if you don't mind.
Please.
I did not suspend him. I placed him on paid administrative leave back in
Mayor,
January.
that's a suspension.
Totally different.
How is it different? He's not working.
He's not working, but that's not a suspension, though. Different technical terms. It was paid administrative leave that he was put on, and that was
he was placed on the sidelines. He wasn't colonel, and it was in the wake of this ticketing investigation.
Correct.
The state police investigation found that he had no involvement in that. Has he been treated unfairly?
No, I don't think he's been treated unfairly, because the reasons, and I said this back in January, the reason that we put him on the sideline as a paid administrative leave, because I'm very cautious, being an attorney myself, of the legal distinction between a suspension and paid administrative leave, because I didn't want that type of dark cloud, was for the independence of the state police coming in with respect to the ticketing investigation, but also on that second point to find out exactly what's going on with the department, give me an honest, objective assessment of everything, including some of the personnel matters that were percolating.
Antonucci's lawyer, Joe Rodeo, claims you're trying to clear a captain spot to promote a female lieutenant who sued the city for discrimination and take care of another captain who's been out on paid administrative leave. Those are very serious allegations.
Very serious allegations. They're baseless, reckless type comments, and in fact, I think he called it criminal. And as a lawyer myself, former prosecutor, he's basically accusing myself and the state police of criminal behavior, of collusion, and whatever he said it was, and like I said, it's baseless and reckless accusations against us.
One news outlet reported that you accepted campaign contributions from the police officers in Cranston, also from the union president, the union lawyer, etc. As you know, you negotiated a contract that the city council determined was unaffordable. In retrospect, do you feel it was a mistake for you to take those campaign contributions in light of the fact of this investigation? And do you feel that the people should have a question mark in Cranston about that contract, given your acceptance of those contributions?
You know, Arlene, I don't think so at all, because I've taken contributions from a lot of individuals, even within the city of Cranston, that have donated to me in the past, and we've passed contracts, not only just the police contract, but fire contract, Teamsters, laborers, on many occasions during the 3 terms that I've been mayor, and even provided raises in many of those other contracts too. So I don't think that there was anything
that doesn't
inappropriate.
necessarily make it right, though. I mean, conceivably, someone could argue, well, you're a repeat offender then, taking these campaign contributions. And, you know, one of the issues you brought up is that the captain shouldn't be in the bargaining unit. You had the opportunity to take him out. So doesn't that raise questions that the money, I'm not saying it did, but that the money influenced you to keep him in the unit?
No, absolutely not, Arlene. When you take a look at historically all the contracts that we've negotiated concessions back from all the bargaining units as well, totaling millions to help save taxpayer dollars when we first got in. So all of that, and even on the police contract itself, everyone keeps saying it was unaffordable. Every contract that we have, we do a fiscal note that really takes a look at what those costs are year over year of the life of that contract. I have not put a contract in that the city of Cranston and its taxpayers couldn't afford. In fact, with the contracts that we've had in the past several years, we've run surpluses too. And in this contract with the police officers, there were also some strong management rights on sick time, on a lot increasing healthcare co-shares.
Rich, she brought up. I mean, you've been mayor for 6 years, and now taking the captains out of the union is important to you?
No, actually, we had even tried before during negotiations, but what they were looking for in return was very difficult for me to give up. You know, and I can't get into the negotiation process because they have filed for interest arbitration, so it's going to end up in arbitration with respect. But what worries me about the entire thing now is there were also strong management rights that we were advocating for, including asking that captains be taken out of the union, and that's going to be in arbitration.
All right, I want to shift gears here.
Sure.
Let's move to your gubernatorial campaign, and I want to play something for you. Your campaign has been questioning the GOP credentials of your opponent in the Republican primary, Ken Block. I want to play a small part of an ad that your campaign put online. Here it is.
I can no longer afford to do what we're doing, and I believed that Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, was going to provide the kind of relief that we needed in my business to ensure my employees.
Notice the background there. That video was taken from this very program, Newsmakers. I want to play now what Block said during that program without any edits. Here it is.
I can no longer afford to do what we're doing, and I believed that Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, was going to provide the kind of relief that we needed in my business to ensure my employees. And it turns out that the promise didn't live up to the hype, and I fairly regret the vote. I'm looking for answers, and those answers didn't come. Well, the other thing that the mayor didn't tell us was that before I told everybody I voted for Barack Obama, I endorsed Brendan Doherty.
Okay, Brendan Doherty, of course, is the former Republican candidate for Congress. He lost to David Cicilline. But important in there, Mayor, he said, quote, the promise, meaning the Obamacare promise, didn't live up to the hype. That is a really important sentence that was chopped out of that ad. Would you be upset if your words were edited in that manner?
My words have been edited, and this is where experience in politics that I've envisioned, well over a decade's worth of being involved in public service, I can sit back and I stand by a lot of what I've said, the positions I've taken, and where I am. And the purpose of the ad was to show the trust factor and whether or not we as Republicans can sit back and believe Ken Block. Because he was the individual that had to take a poll,
so you approve of that ad?
Yes, I do.
You're okay with the editing in that ad?
I'm okay with the editing because it comes down to trust him. And the words that he's used, he doesn't have, it's all about rhetoric with Ken. And the words that he used are being used against him because the fact of the matter is, he had to take a poll to become a Republican. He had to end up now defending himself because Republican voters, he's going to have to overcome that fact that he's voted for Obama twice.
If you're going to have this fight with him, some are going to say this is hypocritical. You were a registered Democrat, correct me if I'm wrong, 2002?
Correct.
And that's when you switched over?
Yeah, but here's the difference. I have a decade's worth of showing that I am a Republican, whether it's in the values, fiscal values, supporting candidates at the local, state, and federal levels. You don't come into the Republican Party, and this is why I say it's a trust factor about Ken, and then ask to be the captain of the team, and I'm going to do everything. I've come up through the farm system from the city council to mayor, and I have results in Cranston where through the strong fiscal management we have, we've created over 1,000 new jobs. We have made sure that we've implemented 401ks for 2 major unions going forward, stuff that Republicans have been advocating for years.
Yeah, let's go back to the ad. Are we to assume that you do not support Obamacare, that the 7.1 million people who signed up, the other 4+ million people on the Medicaid, if you had your chance, you would scrap that?
That's correct. I didn't support Obamacare from the beginning. So the big question now for Rhode Island is about the costs associated with that health source RI.
And Mr. Block also says, as he did his press conference, that government does not really create jobs. You as governor, or he as governor, would create jobs by hiring the actual staff, but it's really entrepreneurs that create jobs.
Absolutely.
And just a moment ago, you talked about you creating jobs. Is that an exaggeration?
It's not an exaggeration.
That it was you that created the jobs?
No, it's not an exaggeration, but if you take a look at the Providence Journal, they PolitiFact exactly what I said. We showed them the environment that we created in Cranston, working with those employers. And I didn't even overstate the number of employers that we worked with and the jobs that we helped create in the city during those first 2 terms. And that's what we're still doing. That's what should happen at the state level with the chief executive.
So John Hazen White didn't create those take-o jobs, you did?
No. What I'm saying is...
Did he create them or you?
No, he did, but what I'm saying is both. Because John's not going to have the confidence to, or any other employer is not going to have the confidence to create jobs if they don't have a stable government and a stable chief executive that they can rely on and work with. In fact, an interesting story with John was, remember when he did that $17 million expansion just recently, even these tough times? He put a halt to it at first because the Governor Chafee, had announced that he wanted to increase taxes due to those broad-based that would have cost John a lot more money.
You know, we have to go to a break in about a minute, but I want you to kind of be in Governor Chafee's shoes right now. And if you were governor, there's a $12 million line in the budget to pay back investors in the 38 Studios scandal. Would you have put that in the budget? Do you think we should be paying back investors?
I've said from the beginning, based on the information and facts that we have right now, I would not support paying that back.
Why? And aren't you worried about the bond rating?
No, and that's the thing, because it's a question of whether it is a legal obligation or not. And from the information that we have, it's a moral obligation. Yes, can we take a potential hit? That's something that we have to worry about. But right now, that $12.5 million payment could be going to a lot of other important projects, from the Sakonnet River Bridge to education to even creating a better business environment. That's where I would focus those dollars to go.
All right, we still have a lot to talk about when we come back from the break. We have the pension settlement, hope to tackle some ethics as well. Our guest is Cranston Mayor Allan Fung, Republican candidate for governor. You're watching Newsmakers. Welcome back to Newsmakers. I'm Tim White. To my right, Eyewitness News analyst Arlene Violet. Our guest this week is Cranston Mayor Allan Fung, Republican candidate for governor. Mayor, we're going to go through some rapid fire questions here, looking for a yes or no, one-word answer on these best you can. There are 2 bills in to repeal the voter ID law. If you were governor, would you sign that bill into law?
No, I support the voter ID law.
Do you support raising the minimum wage to $10.10 an hour?
No, I'd rather see more people employed rather than having a higher wage for a few.
Are you pro-choice or pro-life?
I'm pro-choice.
Yes or no, do you support binding arbitration for teachers?
Absolutely not.
Do you support or oppose the tolls on the Sakonnet River Bridge?
Oppose.
You oppose them. All right, we might come back to that. And finally, if elected governor, it's been a hot issue lately. Would you sign a bill into law legalizing recreational marijuana?
Based on the information that we have now, no at the moment. We're just going to have to take a look at the issue. As a former prosecutor, I dealt with a lot of juvenile prosecution. I was also in the drugs and organized crime unit, so I worry about the effects on the youth.
Have you ever smoked marijuana? Have you ever tried it?
Tried it once in college.
And do you think that shapes your decision making in the policy at all?
I don't think so. You know, it's just one that just like, you know, I think what really shapes me is the experience that I had as a prosecutor when, you know, I saw the effects of it on the young people that appeared in front of me. You know, I see some of the damage that could happen if they start young, and it may lead them to try other type of drugs. So that's what worries me the most, is the impact on the youth.
One of the debates obviously is on the use of a kneecap and/or other objective criteria tests for graduation. Do you support at least some criteria like a kneecap or the upcoming test?
Absolutely. I support the PARC assessment. I know that the Department of Ed is moving towards that.
Right.
I forget exactly when that they're going to have it fully implemented, but that is the test that I would support.
Would you keep Deborah Gist on?
You know, I haven't made a decision on any.
You think she's doing a good job?
I think she is doing a good job. She's very innovative. She's trying to do the best for the students, and those are the type of people that I want to surround myself with, just like I've done in Cranston. And you know, the results are there. Take a look. For a third straight year, we didn't have to raise taxes. You know, that's sound management. I got a good finance director. We're building up our economic base and working with the business people.
So as of this date, you don't take issue with anything that she's done?
No, I haven't seen a lot of the things that she has pushed forward. I've been supportive of. You know, I think a lot of people remember the battles that I had over the mayoral academies. I am a supporter of innovation in education and trying to do the best for the students. And that's part of my education plan too. I want to create an environment where the kids are ready for the workforce of the future. You might have heard some of my discussions about, and somewhat controversial, I'd like to see even the commissioner report into the governor and work more closely aligned with a lot of those department heads that touch the private sector employers.
You brought up the PARC assessment. My understanding is, and I haven't done a lot of reporting on it, but my understanding is there is a concern on the city and town level with the PARC assessment because schools might have a big upfront cost to get the technology up to speed in order for the students to even take this test. Is Cranston dealing with that at this point? I know mayors can be hands-off on some of the school committee issues, but is this something that's on your radar screen? You're worried about it?
Actually, you know, costs are always going to be an issue in any department, whether it's on the state level or the local level. But I think we do have to have that accountability measure of for students to see where they are as they progress along the grades. And why PARC is important is we need to make sure that the students are ready in the beginning levels, especially with reading, because if they get beyond the third grade level or anything, and reading and math, we're not doing a proper service to them. And it's about getting kids ready for the workforce of the future. Having those measurables is important to make sure that they're progressing along and meeting the educational needs for the workforce of the future.
Representative Mattiello is your representative in Cranston in light of his new Speaker of the House power that he has. Have you met with him to discuss escalating benefits for Cranston as a result of his position?
You know, I've always had a good relationship with my state representative, even during the time that he was leader. So,
but have you met with him since and said?
Yes, I congratulate him.
And what, other than congratulating him, did you have a shopping list of what you wanted, like?
Oh, absolutely.
Like what?
Just like any other mayor would, you're going to take care of Cranston, trying to get any additional aid, any additional aid, but also talking about what I'd like to do if I'm in that position as governor, working with him, making sure that we're aligned. I like what he has to say right now about creating a better business. It fits with a lot of things that I announced in my plan back in November when I announced about lowering taxes. Some of the taxes that I've discussed is the estate tax, making sure our sales tax is competitive with our bordering states, trying to eliminate that minimum corporate tax or reduce it if we can, and something that's also personal to me as a mayor, the property and car tax. We need tools at that local level to make sure that we can manage our budgets. All that is important to creating a better business environment. So a lot of that is part of the agenda I'm pushing. I'm glad to hear that some of it is on his radar too.
We just happened to have House Speaker Nicholas Mattiello on Newsmakers last week, and I'd like to get your reaction to something he said about the Ethics Commission. I think the best way to summarize it was he was non-committal about bringing the Ethics Commission to the House floor for a vote, but he had this to say. Let's take a listen.
I know of no corruption in government. So passing the ethics bill right now is not going to be this magic bullet that stimulates our economy, because there's no underlying corruption that we have to get rid of. That doesn't mean that the ethics bill is not something that should be considered.
All right, that was House Speaker Nicholas Mattiello on Newsmakers last week. As Arlene pointed out, he's your state rep. What's your reaction to that?
You know, one of my good government agendas that I put out in the wake of what happened with the resignation speaker is calling for the Ethics Forum, Ethics Commission to be subject to, the General Assembly to be subject to the Ethics Commission. I think that's critically important in light of what we've seen not only just recently, but historically. You know, we also saw on the Senate side other, people on the rep side that have had,
Does that sound very encouraging to you?
No, it's very disappointing, but it's also one where if, the speaker, and I have that privilege to be governor, we disagree, I'm going to still push forward with him, with the Senate president as well, on issues that I feel are important for Rhode Islanders. And that's one, also pushing for term limits and other things that are controversial as well.
On the Ethics Commission, what about Senate President Teresa Paiva-Weed's point that the Ethics Commission is appointed by the executive branch and then they would be policing the legislative branch? Don't you have concerns about separations of powers there?
No, but that happens also at all levels. Our legislators in city council are subject. You have myself that's subject to it. You have people that are part of boards and commissions that are subject to it. Good government calls for ethics oversight at all levels, regardless of how they're appointed.
A moment ago, you alluded to the estate tax. As you know, there's pending legislation, $1 million, $2 million, up to $5 million. Which one of those bills would you support?
I'd love to see it totally eliminated. If we can't get to the total elimination of it because of the dollar values, it's only, last year I drew in just over 30 million.
Yes.
But normally what we've seen is more in the 20 million type range. I believe that we can, eliminate it and afford it and find other budget savings to try to get rid of it. If we can't, I would support at least trying to get it to the federal threshold, that $5 million, or as an alternative, just definitely raising it above where it is now and treating it as a true exemption rather than from $1 once you cross that threshold.
To steal a description from the Journal, you cheered the collapse of the pension settlement. Why?
Oh, absolutely, because it's been no secret that I did not support that pension settlement because of the cost to the taxpayers. And that what worries me the most is, we sat through and passed that legislation, and the governor and the treasurer were out there championing the constitutionality of it when it was passed by the General Assembly. Nothing's changed. Nothing has changed.
You want the courts to decide on that?
I want the courts to decide. It's such an important issue.
But isn't that sort of a be careful what you wish for department? I mean, really, a lot of the vast majority of the savings in the original reform law were in the pension settlement. It could be worse, couldn't it, coming out the other end?
No, but
for taxpayers, using your words.
For taxpayers, but take a look at even that that percentage that they're talking about giving back. It's going to have a monumental impact on Cranston alone. $1 million just in 2016, if that goes through, on top of adding, overall to numerous city and town budgets, many of which are still, teetering. So that's a lot of dollars that mayors and town administrators are going to have the budget for. Also, you're also kicking the can down the road with increasing close to a $250 million in the unfunded liability. We got to stop with those type of decisions. Let's get a decision once and for all. It's that important of an issue. Speaking
of pension reforms, et cetera, which you just did, are you confident that you have solved the pension crisis and the health care budget and the escalating prices into the future? Have you finished that? And if not, why are you running for governor? Why haven't you stayed put and finished that job?
Actually, I'd like to even do more at the state level on pension reform. One of the things I was very proud of during the time of mayor is moving new employees into 401k type private sector plans like many employers have. That has helped in this budget and why I was able to avoid a tax increase. My contribution limit is at 3% to the employees versus an increased cost, even with the pension reforms, of over 11.25% for those same employees that are in the state system. system. Those are the savings that have to continue to happen. But the pension reform and the local plan, it helps shave $6.5 million off our annually required contribution, allows us to fund the ARC at 100% going forward, and so long as we follow the plan, it's going to put us in better shape. It's tough, Arlene, because you never solve the problem. There's always going to be problems, but I'm proud of the work we did on pension reform to help the taxpayers for a third year not have any tax increase, and that's what I want to do for the state.
We have about 30 seconds left in the show, Mayor. As you know, we host a lot of debates here at Channel 12. Here and now, will you commit to debating Ken Block on our air?
Absolutely. I've got no problem with debating Ken Block. We just have to find the right time to be able to do it, and I'll do it right here on Channel 12.
We have your commitment.
You have my commitment right on camera, so.
We like to hear that. All right, well, listen, Cranston Mayor Allan Fung, Republican candidate for governor, thank you very much for joining us on the program. We hope to have you back sometime soon.
Thank you.
Okay.
Whenever you'd like.
All right, and if you missed any of it, it's online, WPRI.com. For Arlene Violet, I'm Tim White. We'll see you next week on Newsmakers.